Hello. In this video, we're going to master the basics of slicing data frames in Pandas and Python. So first, we will look at a very simple example, and then we'll jump into the details of why is that example so simple, and then get under the bonnet in terms of the details. So first, what we are doing is we are setting up a pretty simple data frame which has essentially lists being fed in. So we're using list zip method to create a data frame for multiple lists. And then we are providing 4 column names, items, units, quantities, and price. If I print this data frame, let me do that quickly. Uh, Print df, you can see I've got this data frame. So very simply put, what if I wanted to pull units and quantity columns only, just those 2 columns? How can I do this? So Pandas allows a quite neat functionality, which is data frame. I'm just typing it to show you, and then you filter by column column names, and you can have as many columns as you want here to slice multiple columns. So what I've done is I've already created a list of columns, which is calls, which is unit and quantity. So unit and quantity, and when I print df columns calls and bring that in, I should get a subset of the data in the from that. So this was our main data frame, and when I just did this command, it got me this output. Just to make it clearer, you could have also done this, which is the same thing, and I'm just gonna remove this from here just to show you how it works. So you get the same answer. Now, what if you wanted to pick 2 rows? And to do that, I'm just going to use a very simple print def.loc, and then I'm going to say 0 and 1, and let's see what it does. Oh, it's given me an error. Sorry, I made a mistake. I needed 2 brackets, two square brackets rather than one. So if I do this, you would see that I get these 2 bits. So now your question would be why I had named column names and I had to use this index. I'm going to answer this further in this video, but I have to first explain some of the basics of how the data frames are structured. So when we have created this data frame, what is happening in the background is Pandas is picking up item, unit, quantity, and prices as column names, uh, which are shown here. If it wasn't picking up those as column names, Pandas would refer to these as index. So column 1 would be 0, column 2 column item would be 0, unit would be 2. So, but in the data frame we have just seen, Pandas is picking up column names. Hence, when we write a command with column names, which we have done here, it works. But if I did this, let's say if I run this bit, which is I'm trying to do the same but with row names, I should get an error, which is what I'm getting. And the reason why I'm getting this error is because Pandas is not recognizing milk and bread and egg and fuel and pears as the row title. So Pandas doesn't know this row is named milk. It knows this row is named number 0. Hence, when we run it with 0, it works. So in order to fix this, first what we have to do is we have to reset the index. So I have got this command here, which is dataframe.setIndex, and I'm saying set the index on items. Sorry, let me just to show you, I just need to clear this off first because this is creating a bit of a mess. So now we have got the clean data set, but this print is done above this command here, which means at this point my index is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, not milk, bread, eggs, fuel. So if I run this command, def dot print, sorry, I just like to create a bit of separation between the two data frames. So this command is just going to create a bit of separation so it's easy to see the two data frames. So coming back to the point, when I run this command, def.setIndex items, it should recognize this items column as the index name for rows. And I'm gonna print the df again to show the difference between the two. So as you can see here, we get 0 as an index, but now we are not getting 0 as an index. So let's try the same command again, where now that we have set the index, I just want to try and call just the rows, milk and bread. So let me do that quickly. And I'm printing that, so I should see, here we go. Now it starts working with the row names. So it is important to understand the structure of your data frame before you write these commands. And that is, I think for the beginners, this sometimes is the most confusing part in terms of slicing data in Pandas data frames. Right, so now let's move on to a slightly more advanced feature in Pandas slicing. Not really advanced, but it is slightly different. So up till now, what we have done is we have sliced columns separately, and then we've sliced rows separately. But what if, is there a built-in functionality within Pandas which would allow you to take two columns and two rows? So typically, we use this iloc function to do this. I'm gonna first go in the syntax of this function. So iloc essentially works by saying, tell me the rows. So you go df.iloc. So df is your data frame, which is this. And then we're saying in this command is take first two rows and first two columns and return those. Let me just show you how it looks first. So, and then I think probably we can go in a bit more detail here. Let me take these bits out. So we are on this code line here. Uh, let's run it. So essentially you could see this is the whole data frame, and I said take first two columns and first two rows. So I'm just getting this subsection of the data frame which has worked. But I think the important question is, how do you understand the syntax here? So I think in order to understand that, I would probably the simplest explanation I can provide is maybe we look at a list. So I'm going to hide everything first. Okay, what are we doing? We are now, what I'm going to show you is simple slicing in lists in Python is you could actually go and say print, if you did print data and you went, if you printed like this, let's do that. And you're saying it's printed exactly the same as the main list. So this semicolon function essentially is print everything. But what if I said 2 to 4, you can see that I get, because Python starts from 0, I get C and D here as a slicing. So this is exactly what's happening in, okay. And what's happening in this iloc function is I'm simply first telling pandas to give me two rows. If I, let's do a better example. So these are the two rows and I go 0 to 4 and let's see what happens. And you can see I'm getting first two rows. But what if I wanted all rows? All I needed to do was just do this. it should give me all rows. So you can see it's giving me all rows here. And the same thing is happening on the column side. So I'm going back because iloc is working through the index value. So then we're calling by row numbers and we're calling by column numbers. So going back again, we first read rows numbers and column numbers, and that's how iloc works. Right, and the final bit we'll cover in this video is what if we want to return a number of rows based on a column value. For example, if we want to get every single item in this list where the quantity is greater than 10. Let's probably do that. It's pretty straightforward to do in Python. So I'm just gonna create a variable which is greater, and then I've got my data frame, which is this, and I will start from this example. As you can see, we've got these two square brackets, and I'll start my first square bracket and put another data frame in it where I'm saying look at quantity column, and where it's greater than 10, print greater. So let's try that. So you can see pretty straightforward to slice this, and you could do this on multiple conditions as well. So extremely powerful functionality to slice data in a variety of ways, almost infinite ways, which are available within Pandas. So hopefully this introduction video on Pandas data frame slicing was helpful, and in future I'm going to do more videos with more and more advanced features.